Morning, morning. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Huxtable. How the devil are you?
I'm chipper this morning because the scene behind me
Yes.
actually, when I was out walking the dog this morning, reflects what the
Yes.
weather's like today.
Oh, I tell you what, doesn't it make a little bit of a difference? Doesn't it give
It?
you that little bit of sort of energy when you walk outside? Yesterday was absolutely gorgeous in the afternoon. It was one of those moments of, well, I think I might sit on a bench and just ponder life for a moment. Which is fantastic. It's great, yeah. And hopefully sort of rubbing off on everybody's requirements to want to go out and spend money and get back into the whole business thing. And so that's really great. And I think the optimism that you mentioned last week in our episode is actually starting to come through in a lot more people. So I think that's a fantastic place to be. So we can't warble about that too much. These busy people listening to us and watching us, they need to hear what we're going to say so they can get on. What are we going to say today?
What I was saying, well, today we are talking, we're building on what we started to talk about last week, which was your readiness to welcome customers back into the new world post lockdown. And of course, we're a week further down the line of England's lockdown. Wales are out, aren't they? They're having haircuts and all sorts. Scotland have started to talk about their plan, and in Northern Ireland, the people are kids to go back to school as well as they are in England. So there's lots of really positive things going on, which we should be really happy about. But of course, that then when we start, as we were saying last week, start to think about getting back to normality, the businesses really need to ask themselves, are you ready for that? Are you ready to pivot back to or pivot onto a new way of working? And as we shared last week, and the link will be available at the end of today's podcast, that we have a customer ready checker that you can download. 12 simple questions that pop you into a zone, a risk zone and an awareness zone that we talked about last week. So if you want to know more about, if you're in that group of businesses, nothing to fear. There's lots of things you can do now to move yourself to be customer ready. But go back to episode 40 of that podcast, and you'll hear all about those zones. Today we're going to talk about businesses that may already be further down the road and be ready to or be more ready to look after their customers as we come out of this. So we're going to talk about the breakthrough zone today, and the impact zone.
Fantastic. And it's really interesting. It's quite an interesting time to be talking about this sort of thing, because a lot of it is going around confidence as well. If you can demonstrate confidence in your processes and all the things you do, particularly with these two zones we're going to talk about today, actually gives your customers confidence as well, your clients confidence as well. And when we think about what's going on at the moment with vaccines and questions being raised about what's going on, people's confidence can be eroded fairly rapidly. So the focus on how ready you are in this new way of working, the new normality, if you like, will definitely have an impact on your clients. Because remember, we say this, or customers, we say this a lot, you've got to make sure that you keep an eye and an insight on what's going on. This world we live in now, it's really easy to move off to somebody else, to find another provider, to find another person who's going to give you what you're paying for. It's really easy. So we've got to focus even more so and change and adjust what we do as businesses to suit what our customers are looking for. And we've got to make sure we gather that insight as well. So breakthrough zone.
Yeah, just
let us know what we're talking about there, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just think something you've said that's triggered something in my brain, Rich, which is if you think about the learned behavior most consumers have gone through in the last 12 months, in terms of the way in which consumers had experienced your brand, your business, will have changed. Now, for some brands, unfortunately, there will have the experience will have stopped because they have a model that hasn't been able to trade, and obviously they will be coming back into the marketplace. But many businesses, including ours, actually, we've had to change the way in which we communicate with customers, and we've had to change the way in which customers buy our products and services through the medium of the internet. So your point, Rich, around how do you stand out is even more exposed now, because people will be looking for your presence on the internet, and then they'll be thinking about the user experience they get on your website or you know, in ordering something. So if you find yourself in the breakthrough zone after you've completed our survey, and remember there's 4 zones, I'd like to describe this in a really simple way for our listeners and viewers. And I want them to think about a pendulum. I mentioned this last week, and the pendulum swing. If a business is behind the pendulum swing, they are they're in the risk zone. They're having to react to the environment. It's costing them a lot of money to try and catch up. If you move that pendulum swing to the midpoint, businesses are passive, and they're in that awareness stroke breakthrough zone where they know the customer is important, and they might be doing some client listing or customer listing, or they might be using that to inform their business strategy, but it's very ad hoc and it's not an ingrained behavior. And I know in a minute you're going to talk about the impact zone, and a lot of those clients in the impact zone are ahead of the pendulum, so they're constantly asking their clients for feedback, and they're understanding that sentiment, and then they're able to make an informed choice on the strategy. But coming back to the breakthrough zone, this is where there is a dawning reality for a business that although they may think they understand and they know their customers, the breakthrough zone is the thought process in the organization that says we don't probably know them as well as we thought we did, and we've assumed that they want this, or they want that, or they want the other, and we've done that based on maybe our own internal prejudices in terms of what we think, or on scant, one-off, intermittent feedback from customers that has not been, you know, fully tested in terms of the insight that's been given. So when you find yourself in the breakthrough zone, it's the light. I describe it to my clients as the light bulb moment of, I get it. I get this. I need to be more ingrained and in tune with my customers, and I need to ask them regularly what they think. And we and others have got many ways you can do that. You're sat in front of the lovely instant insight sign there behind you, but that's an example of a platform that our clients use to regularly ask their customers how they feel about their brand, their sentiment. Would they recommend them? How satisfied are they? And a lot of our clients are in that breakthrough zone because A, they're working with an insight provider, but B, they're actively encouraging customers to feedback on their experience. The other key thing about being in the breakthrough zone that I want to talk about is the inherent behavior becomes defined within their culture. And I know in a minute you're going to talk about impact zone and how that, you know, how the culture changes when you become to when it's ingrained in the business. But in the breakthrough zone, there will be a defined, the sorts of things you'll see is business will have a defined customer process, a defined customer complaints handling procedure. They will have a defined line on their business plan about how important customers are. And I was with a client yesterday who I would describe as being in the breakthrough zone, and they've got 4 pillars of growth, and one of them is client, they call it client service. And they're really clear, and we're going through a process with them at the moment where we're engaging all of their teams in the client plan for this year. So it's becoming an engaged behavior. They're very much in that breakthrough zone, moving towards that impact zone. So what happens when they get to the impact zone then, Rich?
Well, from an impact zone point of view, this is the sort of the pinnacle. This is where you want to be. This is the bit that we'd like as organizations all to be there. And the key thing there, and I like your pendulum analogy, really, it works nicely. You are in front of that pendulum. You are gathering information, understanding before there are issues, before there is a need to do that, because you see that there's a need. So you are preempting what the clients and the customers are looking for in the future. So you're thinking about the trends. So we talk about in the breakthrough zone, you're going to start to have been, you've got lines in your business strategy talking about customers, you've got processes in place, absolutely, and they are fitting in. But in the impact zone, what we're seeing that whole culture is based around customer experience and great customer service. So a lot of the great gurus of customer service talk about, you know, customer service isn't a department, it's a culture. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about those organizations whose processes and standards and ways of operating are all driven by the customer view of the world. They don't, or if they are thinking we need to adjust something from an internal point of view because we've got issues, they will ensure that they seek understanding from the customer's point of view before they make any of those sort of changes. What is the best thing for the customer? It might be easier for us internally, but actually we've got to make sure that the customer is not going to be affected in any way, shape or form if we're changing any of our internal processes or changing what we do or what we offer. So we're checking beforehand. It's all about that proactivity in the impact zone. And you are seeing that also these organizations are the ones that actually are leading the way. So again, can go back to the likes of Amazon, etc. Love them, hate them, whatever. I always say it. They provide something as a customer that you get and you see it and it's easy and you will go back and you will continue working on those sort of things. Those are the sort of impact organizations. And interestingly enough, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, a client from a professional services point of view, and they were talking about how a service they offer doesn't provide lots of money for them and can be a bit of a pain for them internally. And so I was asking some questions about that and saying, well, okay, well, that's interesting, but what about the customer? The customers come to you wanting that service. You are offering that service. There's clearly a need for it, and therefore, but you then don't turn that into even more of an opportunity for the customer. What could the customer possibly get off the back of that service? And that means more offerings, more services that company offers. So if they're thinking purely customer point of view, then they'll see that and they can adjust what they do accordingly. Now, it might mean doing something completely different that they've never done before. We talk about pivot and we've talked about it a lot, but actually if that's what the customer's requiring and the environment wants, then you've got to listen to that and you've got to preempt that, you know, rather than being reactive to what's going on. The impact zone organizations are the ones that go, something's going to change in the next 6 to 9 months. We need to be there. We need to make sure our customers are on board. And we know all of these things because we're asking our customers, we're asking our internal customers, and we're gathering the feedback proactively. So that's the impact zone.
Just on that point, Rich, it's probably there's something again that you said that when you talk about Amazon, these businesses are the ones that are setting the standard, aren't they? They're creating new customer theories, practices, ways of doing things that customers don't even realize they need, you know, before they're created. So, you know, there's a real ability, isn't there, to be able to, if you think about Ocado is another great example of, you know, the online grocery market. Ocado revolutionized that in terms of the model, and then Tesco saw it, copied it, and you know, used it. But Ocado, the Ocado system is now used across the world. You know, Boohoo, online fashion, you know, all of those other, there's lots of business. And, you know, the other thing that I think is quite interesting, you know, during the pandemic, and we've seen this, is much smaller businesses have been able to innovate in the impact zone really quickly. And we talked about this a lot, the local baker, the butcher, the candlestick maker, you know, they've found innovative ways to interact locally to make a real impact on their community, which has stopped them going to the local, you know, supermarket because it products and services locally. So, you know, businesses that are either in the breakthrough or impact zone, that's the right side of the pendulum to be. And the pendulum analogy is a really simple one to explain to your people, because all of this is great. All of this is great to have this in the strategy, and you know, but actually, if your people aren't aware of your strategy or aren't involved where they sit on the pendulum, because you will have people that are putting your business in the risk zone because customers will not be a priority to them. You will have people that are already in the impact zone that are doing a great job for you already, and that are, you know, really, really, really a great ambassador for your brand. But of course, if your customer one day gets somebody in the impact zone and thinks this is great, but the following day gets somebody that puts you in the risk zone, what are they going to remember?
Yeah, exactly. And as we all know, you know, that experience that we have as customers is all about emotion. Yeah, we feel, we know how we felt. We don't remember what happened exactly what the words were said, what the process was that we went through, but we know it made us feel either fantastic or it's okay, or I'm never going there again. So we've really got to make sure we're focusing on this. And if you get the opportunity, the link is below in the comments and underneath this on the video here. If you're watching, go on to the customer ready report, fill in the 12 questions. It takes 2 minutes, and really check where you are, because we can make assumptions about where we are. And there's lots of business out there go, yes, we are really good, but remember the stats. 80% of organizations believe they deliver superior customer experience. Only 8% of their customers actually agree with them. There is a massive gap, an opportunity for businesses, because everybody wins out of this. If you can get into the impact zone, you're listening to your customers and providing what they want. And if you're providing what they want, guess what? They're going to spend more money with you, and they'll tell more people about how great you are. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, really. Don't get me wrong, it's hard work, because if it was easy, there loads of people would be doing it. But those businesses that put that hard work in and focus on the customer will see them going further and beyond what their competitors are. Oh, that's good English. Going beyond their competitors and differentiating themselves, because we've got that feeling as human beings. Oh, that's all right. Even with the tech, people go, no, it's all about tech now, numbers, but the tech still gives us a feeling. If I'm going onto a website, if I'm getting a call, or I'm getting a text, or I'm getting some chat functionality, it makes me feel good. Oh, that was easy, brilliant. God, that was great. I can now go and do other stuff. I'm going back there. That was really easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, warbling done. So
warbling done.
Breakthrough impact zone.
Yeah.
Where are you?
We can help. If you need some help to understand where you are, please get in contact.
It's free. It's free. It's a nice little freebie from us. It's a nice little freebie. Give us a little bit of insight. Why not? Give it a go.
Well, I don't know about you, Mr. Knight. I'm off out. I think I might go for a little walk in the sunshine and go and sit on that bench and contemplate life like you've done.
Oh, it sounds like a great idea. Just before you do, we did mention that we were going to be going live, CX, Cider and CX, on the end of this month, on the end of March. We have listened to our customers, done a bit of insight gathering, and made a decision that actually that's a bit too early. We need to give more people more chance of getting it into their diaries. So we're actually going to be going live, Cider CX, on the 29th of April. So that gives you more time to get it in your diary, get yourself prepared. And we will be letting you know more about that on the various social media channels and LinkedIn, etc., etc. So please keep an eye out for it. Get on there, send us some questions and ideas about what you'd like us to talk about. We'd like to give you more opportunity to be involved in it and be part of it rather than us warbling. You can let us know what you'd like us to warble about, and even come on there and have a chat with us as well if you like.
Can't wait for that. Really looking forward to it. And I'm going to share a new cider with everybody as well.
Oh, I'm excited now. Well, I'm going to drink loads of the old ones and maybe a new one.
New ones, yeah, okay. It's been a pleasure talking to you this week, Richard. I've been Ryan Huxtable.
I've been Richard Knight. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll speak to you soon.